when you go into a garden, you have to identify what's a plant and what's the weed, right?
Yeah.
So first step is awareness. What identifies as a negative thought?
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Family Care Learning podcast, and thank you so much for joining us. We are in the middle of our series in looking at some of our articles on our Arizona Family Counseling resource page, and today I have with me Giselle. Giselle, welcome again. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going through some of the articles that Giselle has written, and one of the ones that I love that just reminds me of, it feels so kind of like parable, right? Like style, that like in the way that Jesus would communicate. And the article is called "Your Mind is a Garden." And so in this article, you write about how it's helpful to think about how your mind is kind of like a garden. Will you share about that a little bit?
Sure. So I like to think that we have in gardening two main things we have to do: the nourishing of the plants that we want to grow, right?
Yeah.
And the removing of weeds, pests, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking mentally, it's kind of similar actions we need to take.
Yeah.
We want to nourish and plant good, positive thoughts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we want to remove the negative, the things that threaten to destroy the good.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, wow, that makes so much sense, right? We're wanting to grow the flowers, the plants, right? And we're wanting to kind of get the weeds out. And so in thinking about that, do you have any kind of practical kind of strategies that you mentioned in the article that you'd like to share?
Yeah, definitely. So for the planting of flowers, right? Or the planting or nourishing a positive mindset is just kind of being intentional in where you put your attention, right? So in therapy, one of the main things we do when someone is depressed or anxious is, you know what, how about practicing gratitude every day? That's like a homework assignment.
Yeah.
Come up with at least 3 things every day specific to that day that you're grateful for. What that does, it's kind of bypasses this tendency we have, like a negativity bias in our brains to just focus and fixate on negative things. Practicing gratitude is like retraining our brain, rewiring it to be more aware of the good.
Yeah.
Right. So definitely practicing gratitude, filtering your content. So with social media, with what you watch, with what you listen to, making sure that it is nourishing your soul and not taking away. How do you know that? If it's creating feelings of jealousy, anger, feeling left out, things like that, it's probably not nourishing your soul. And then another idea, last one to share in this part, is basically creating positive moments. So interacting with other people, helping others, serving others, random acts of kindness, right? There's those kind of movements. Creating moments with people like, hey, let's go hang out, have a cup of coffee, or let's go on a walk together. Those are also ways to tune in on the good and the opportunities for good.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm so reminded of, I think it's in Philippians 4, right? Where it's like, rejoice in the Lord. Again, I say rejoice always, right? Let your gentleness be evident to all, for the Lord is near, right? And then they talk about anxiety with that, and part of how you deal with anxiety is thankfulness, right? Like this, presenting your request to the Lord with thanksgiving. And so I'm just going, wow, you see this throughout the Bible again, where it's like the Lord is kind of calling us, and that's also what we're doing in counseling, I think. And so as far as the negative thought process, and so we're just going, let's really focus on the positive, right, with thankfulness and really engaging in activities that are just building the positivity and all the beautiful things in life. But how might we address if we're having those negative thoughts?
Sure. So kind of like the same action of pulling weeds.
Yeah.
When you go into a garden, you have to identify what's a plant and what's the weed, right?
Yeah.
So first step is awareness. What identifies as a negative thought?
Yeah.
And again, feelings come into play here, but also educating yourself a little bit on like, okay, who does God say I am?
Yes.
Right? And what does scripture say? Like, that's the truth we align everything to. And if it doesn't match up with that, then it's probably a negative thought.
Yeah.
So definitely the awareness. Make a list of some of those negative thoughts once you've identified them, and then find Bible verses that are connected, right, in a way, and then replace some of that thought with the scripture, the truth.
Yeah.
Also, if you find yourself and you're like overthinking, can't seem to get out of it, snap out of the funk, you're like in this negative spiral, one of the quickest things is move your body. So if you're sitting down, get up, right? If you can, take a walk, even if it's a short lap around the office or the house, whatever. Move your body kind of helps stop those thoughts, the spiral.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Listening to positive music or an encouraging podcast also is a good way to kind of snap out of it.
Yeah.
And connection. So sometimes having a conversation with people, I love how Brene Brown puts it, the story I'm telling myself, right? So, hey, this is where I'm at. Can I kind of bounce off of you some things? Like, can I get some feedback?
Yeah.
Because maybe what I'm telling myself is not entirely true, right? So kind of fact checking to collecting evidence against the thought. We also have this ABC model that we use in therapy to help teach specific skill to reframe some of the negative thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And I think there's probably people out there that might be watching or listening that it's really easy, especially with media and everything right now, that just can build anxiety and really kind of build the negativity. And so I've found that there have been people have come into the counseling office that they are not sure how to get out. These weeds seem like they're almost like trees sometimes, right? And so, and I think if any of you are out there and that's where you're at, I think that's what I love, that we have therapists that really can help you navigate that and kind of go, okay, what's my first step in doing that? And I think even some of the negative thoughts can be so ingrained that sometimes we're not even aware that those thoughts are negative. And so if you're one of those individuals that are kind of struggling with that, and you know you need to tend to the garden of your mind, I encourage you to check out Arizona Family Counseling and our therapists who just care deeply to kind of help you kind of right where you're at with that. And so, Giselle, thank you so much for just sharing this article. If you'd like to learn more about it, just check out the link below. Your Garden is a Mind on Arizona Family Counseling. Thanks for joining us.